the resources, the technology, innovation, planning is important. But the most important thing is the strong political will. If the strong political will is there, then there is no problem. If there is a will, there is a way. And I feel that this is the appropriate time in the country. So the planning is not a problem. The planning, innovation, entrepreneurship, technology, appropriate vision is the big problem. By appropriate vision, we can fulfill our things. I feel that this type of atmosphere is going to change the future of this country.
कि 21वीं सदी भारत की हो, ये हमारा सपना ही नहीं, ये हम सभी की जिम्मेदारी भी। लेकिन इसका मार्ग क्या हो? विश्व की आज की स्थिति हमें सिखाती है कि इसका मार्ग एक ही है, आत्मनिर्भर भारत। हमारे यहां शास्त्रों में कहा गया है, एषः पंथः, यानी यही रास्ता है आत्मनिर्भर भारत।
Welcome everyone. Good morning. I'm Ravi Gupta. I am editor-in-chief of e-governance magazine eGov and also the CEO and founder of Elets Technomedia Private Limited. eGov is the 15-year-old magazine on e-governance and which has been focusing on spreading ideas of innovations using ICT in governance. And today, here we are on the second day of the India Transformation Summit. And the focus here is that how to leverage technology for smart policing. And we have an eminent set of speakers here with us. We have with us Shri Harmeet Singh. He is the Additional Director General of Police, Administration and Security, MNL Border for Assam Police. Welcome Harmeet ji. Thanks for joining the session. Namaskar to you. Thank you. And we have with us Shri Manoj, who is the Additional Director General of Police, Headquarters, Kerala Police. Welcome, sir. Thanks for joining, Manoj ji. Namaskar. And we have our industry experts. We have Shri Ankit Jain, who is the Director of SCS India. Welcome, Ankit. Thanks for joining. Ankit, hi.
Thanks, Ravi, and a warm welcome to everyone. And it's a pleasure to be with you and discussing on the smart policing and how the AI and the other piece of predictive policing can help and support our entire ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ankit. And SAF is the technology partner for this session, and this session is going to focus on that how IT and analytics is able to help our police the ecosystem and how it is able to help citizens using advanced IT tools. So to start with, let me request Harmeet Singh ji, who is the ADGP of Assam, to start the session with his address. And we have other speakers who are going to join us very soon. And we also have our speaker from Uttar Pradesh, Asim Arun ji. He has joined. Thank you, Asim Arun ji. Yeah, welcome. And we all are aware about the 112 initiative of UP. He is the person who is leading it, and Shri Yashasvi, I'm sorry, Mr. Asim Arun is the ADG for 112 program in the UP government, and he is the senior most officer who is like leading this very innovative program. So with three states here, I am going to start requesting the speakers to start, and requesting to start with Harmeet Singh ji to start the session. Harmeet ji.
Hi, good morning. Good to be here. And I think Asim and I have been on a panel together before, and Manoj was, I think, on the UNICEF panel for policing vis-a-vis children in the time of COVID. So, guys, it's very simple. Right now, with COVID raging, I thought discussing policing and technology vis-a-vis COVID makes more sense than going into our other initiatives, which I'll just try and touch upon quickly in the end, because right now what affects everyone, and the whole idea is to handle this situation in a way. So let me start by saying that Assam Police is not working in a silo. We are very much a part of Team Assam, led by our Chief Minister, and in complete support of the Health Department, led by our Honorable Home Minister. And we are in complete tandem with all other agencies who are part of the team, which is things like transport and food and civil supplies. So, technology and handling of COVID, let me take it down simply. As I was talking during the earlier icebreakers, we were discussing amongst ourselves, and for our friends who are watching or listening, or maybe will watch and listen later, if you take life in small steps, and you try and sort out small steps bit by bit, you achieve larger success. And that's what we've always strived to do, and that's the way we are working. Because the COVID situation has evolved dynamically, we've learnt about it dynamically, and it's a changing situation every day. And we have to be part of the solution rather than being part of the problem. So let's take it lockdown by lockdown. Let's start with lockdown 1. Lockdown 1 had two basic requirements. One is communicating with the people and letting them know what we are facing. And the second, of course, was enforcing the lockdown. But we added another third, which was providing relief in distress. So let's start with the communication part. Yesterday when I was talking to one of your people, something very funny came up. I said, why is it that every time someone holds a webinar, they talk about all sorts of other technology, but they forget the main part of handling a crisis, whether it's a pandemic or a natural disaster or any other crisis? Communication is the key. And today also we've been brought on board by a web magazine, a portal. So we must talk of communication. So number one, lockdown meant that we needed to communicate with not only our own policemen, but with the citizens. So a two-pronged strategy, which ensures that communication is two-way. You can't have one-way communication. You can't just talk and not have the other person say what they want to say to you so that you can adjust your response. So we used every available platform, which was our social media platforms, which are very robust, and of course, WhatsApp and videos. Now, an interesting part that took place in Assam right at the beginning was the newspaper hawkers refused to deliver newspapers at the beginning because they were fearful of the spread of the infection through paper. So we had to go on to all the TV channels. We had to go on to all the news channels, talk on FM and TV, and then that message was picked up by all the web portals, and whatever we gave out on social media, we also had to inform our people how to keep themselves safe while protecting society. So that's the communication part. I'll just add a small statistic here. so that you realize how successful our communication strategy has been. In a state of 33 million, only our Facebook post reach has been 31 million about a week ago. So you can imagine the kind of reach we've had. And we have a very robust system with even using WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp message of what we want to say goes out to every policeman who has a smartphone, which say out of a force of 70,000 is about 50,000 or 60,000 people. Then we have our village defense parties, which add another 2.5 lakh odd people to the kitty. So to about 3 lakh or 4 lakh people, if we are sending out a particular message and they are giving it out on their groups and their social networks, you can imagine the reach that we have. So communication, number one. Lockdown one meant use of technology to enforce. So how do you enforce? So drones became the new normal. And you'll be surprised that we used, not only did we use drones in urban areas, which is the normal response, we also use them in rural areas, and we use them to look at what's happening on our borders, both interstate and international. We also have international borders with Bhutan and Bangladesh. So the drones were used very effectively. And as I've shared earlier in earlier webinars and earlier talks, it was also a novelty in the rural areas where the fear of getting photographed did in many areas keep people in, and people talked about that. So we use drones. Now we come to where one of your partners, SAS, was in the loop, is creating a network where and a robust technological system where we sent out a message to all people of Assam stranded outside to give a telephone call, which was recorded as a missed call, and an SMS went out to them. So 4 lakh plus people sent a missed call to the health department, which resulted in them getting financial assistance from the state. Why I talked about this is because later I'll tell you how this worked with the interstate migration. Okay. Communication also meant that we needed helplines. So while we have a smaller 100 or 112 system in place and our bigger 112 system is coming up, we went in for immediate helplines. And here too, our helplines were not just normal landline calls. We set up a center which also gave the same helpline service on WhatsApp and WhatsApp messaging, along with social media messaging. So we were able to reach out, and you'll be surprised that we're running 15 lines of this. We're running 4 lines only for senior citizens. We have a separate line for those people who live abroad or outside the state, but their aged parents are stuck in Assam and needed help. And we, with the Guwahati Medical College and Hospital, are also running 6 psychological telecounseling helplines. So just to give you an idea, on the first day of starting the helplines, and these are the helplines that I mentioned about the state central helplines. Every district has its own helpline. So and social media platform. So you can imagine the kind of reach that we have, and you'll be surprised that on day one of when we opened the helplines, we had straight away 60,000 calls dropping in of people wanting help to come back to the state. Lockdown one also saw, apart from enforcement, the drones, the messaging to help people with financial assistance, also saw a major amount of distress because the underprivileged, the marginalized communities, and our 4-legged friends did not have food. So we set up another system where anybody in the state could reach out to a nodal officer who was DIG security, who then would arrange for the NGOs or the donors to go out and distribute foodstuff and essential commodities to the people. So that's how we handled lockdown one, where technology started coming into play. But all this time we were learning. So when we were learning, our health department was ramping up their testing. They were ramping up their quarantine facilities. Now we come into lockdown two, where the first movement started of stranded people who were within Assam but stranded in another district. So intra-district movement, where again we set up along with the transport department. They were the lead agency in this. Health followed up, where we had again an SMS system where if you needed to travel from district A to district B, you sent an SMS and on your phone you got your ticket. If you had a smartphone, you got an e-ticket. If you just had an SMS facility, you got your ticket on an SMS. And in a lot of places, the police stations were the bus stations. So you could come to the nearest police station, you were told when and where your bus would go, and the transport was arranged. And we moved in a small state like Assam, more than 1 lakh people within a week to their homes across the state in lockdown 2, the earlier part of lockdown 2. You would have seen that nowhere in the media from Assam have you seen any kind of problem where people are saying, I have not got help, I am stranded, so and so, so forth. I must also tell you about our relief system. Not only did we give food and essential items to more than about 10 lakh people or whatever, we also reached out and started giving medicine to aged people and patients who couldn't get it. And we were able to, across the state, give out medicine to more than 8,000 people, which is apart from what the health department then later came and set up the same system. Now let's come to interstate movement. Now I told you about those 4 lakh plus people who had already SMSed from outside the state asking for financial help. So naturally we took it as a given that out of this 4 lakh, many more people would want to come back. So the same cloud computing system was used, a code was made, and another number given where we said apart from those 4 lakh plus almost 5 lakh people, those who want to come back can also register. We got, say, another 1.5 lakh calls. So we realized that there are about 6 lakh people. This data was analyzed, segregated state-wise, and an SMS then started going out to these people or a WhatsApp message. We also used broadcast technology on WhatsApp, saying this is when and how you will come. These charts that we were able to prepare state-wise, district-wise, districts within the state, to liaise with the nodal officers of those states and put together a system where passenger manifests could be made for the trains. Now, when we realized that, say, we've got Manoj here, so we got a lot of trains coming in from Kerala. So suppose a train left from Kochi. We had the numbers, the passenger manifest. We compared that with our data. We got the phone numbers of the people on the train, and say about 80% of those people got a message from us. And then 104, which is our health helpline, spoke to them, figured out which district they were coming in for, and then at the various railway stations where the train was stopped. In fact, we didn't have trains coming in just to Guwahati. We tied up with railways, gave railways the figures, gave transport the figures, so that at every railway station, districts from that were near to it could send the buses. So that's where technology made this entire thing seamless. So the receiving desk at the railway station for every district knew how many passengers they would handle. There were adequate plus redundancy buses available to take them to that district. The health facility in the district was ready to receive them. We are possibly one of the only states, or possibly the only state, that has tested every person that has come in from a non-northeast state, because at that time most northeast states were green zones. Everybody who's come in from outside has been tested for COVID, kept in an institutional / paid quarantine till they test negative, and then sent for the home quarantine. So to follow that process, we naturally needed a huge technological backup, which I have just explained to you. Now let's come to the home quarantine part. We, along with health, are running an app apart from Arogya Setu, where everybody who's come in and been sent to home quarantine registers on that app, and we can follow their movements, and the local police station can ensure that they remain in home quarantine, and very polite notices are put up outside every house. And once they are free from that, technologically our people get to know, and those notices, then those people can take off. So lockdown 1, lockdown 2, I've explained to you how a huge movement. Now if I tell you that a small state like ours, we've been able to, as of last night, bring back 4,02,000 people without a hitch. So the minute I say without a hitch, it means that we've really had a seamless experience because police, transport, health have worked together. Now, when you talk of policing, you only talk of crime, you only talk of what we are doing as far as citizen-centric delivery for the people is concerned. I'll share with you a small thing where we use technology even for the trains coming in for food and civil supplies. So databases were created by food and civil supplies, shared with us on on which station, how many rakes are going to arrive, and during the lockdown, what is the kind of labor force that is necessary, who are the unloading contractors involved, and we ensured along with the district authorities that those essential foodstuffs and supplies were unloaded from the rakes and went out into the food and civil supply, a central delivery system. So as you can see, you can't work in a silo. You've got to work in a system where the entire game of bringing everybody home. So if they are coming from Bangalore or anywhere in Kerala, they are brought home. They go to the health center. From the health center, they are taken to uh, their home quarantine. The entire thing is mapped. Now, what we did with as the cases increased, we started geo mapping based on reverse geo mapping of the addresses of plotting out the COVID hotspots. So that then, once along with health, we were plotting out the COVID hotspots, it was easier for us to make containment zones which were manageable rather than, turning an entire ward or an entire district or, a larger area, an entire gaon panchayat. We were able to narrow down the COVID hotspots again on geo mapping, and on home quarantine, we kept the people in with geofencing. Now, as I've tried to say from the beginning, that COVID has been a absolutely evolving situation. So producing the software overnight, producing the codes overnight, getting the apps up so that they are deployed on an immediate basis, all I can say is that we've also had a lot of pro bono help from a lot of youngsters. We had a couple of youngsters who were home on holiday and they work in computer firms abroad. They stepped in. We had our team from SAS who stepped in with health, a team from ENY who was working on our border project. They stepped in again pro bono just to help the cause. So, it's been such a team effort and such a learning that I can only say that technology has helped us build stronger bonds. Now, like we are doing a webinar, you'll be surprised that our superintendents of police do the same kind of thing on either their laptops, iPads, or whatever, tabs and telephones with their OCs, as we call them, officer in charge of police station, or SHO as he's called outside the state. So intra-district, interstate, whether it's the chief minister, whether it's downwards. So from WebEx to the NIC system to video, which is also an NIC part, to other technologies, we have used a lot of video conferencing. In fact, our normal conversations, meetings within headquarters in the evening from home, particularly because we are in a lockdown and our own office is right now a kind of containment zone, are done on a normal video call. If I run ahead of my time, please let me know, because I'm speaking extempore. So there's not, it's not a time, this thing. Now, let me just tell you about our mission homecoming portal. So we, apart from the registry of people, somebody's mic is on, please. Apart from the registry of people, then we had a very simple system where you could register on the portal and an e-pass went out to you, which brought back people who came by road. So I explained to you how railways work. The data was analyzed district-wise. They were distributed. Passenger manifests were made, and they were got to their helpline. So, similarly, you registered on our homecoming, and if you didn't have an email, no problem. We even registered you thanks to an SMS, gave you your pass back on an SMS, gave you your pass back on your WhatsApp, and about 1.5 lakh odd people came back that way using buses when trains were not running, using their own cars, using taxis. We had screening centers for them regionally. So from the entry to the state, we tagged them till they went to the respective screening center in their region and were looked after by the health people. So road has happened, rail has happened, now we come to air. So as we have been analyzing the passenger manifests, and we were creating and analyzing as far as rail was concerned with the e-pass for the road travel, we knew where the person was going. But when we came to the air travel, we were really not sure. We had the manifests, we had the phone numbers, but we were not really sure of which district the person would go to. So similarly, land at airport, be health checked, and then you go to your district. Now, a lot of air passengers are not traveling by public transport, their own vehicles come. So we created a QR code system where the minute you landed at the airport, you were given your own QR code, and within an appointed time, you had to reach the screening center or the health facility of where you were going, because if you didn't reach there, that means you diverted means you violated the guideline, so we went against you. Now if I tell you, in a small state like ours, we've violation guidelines have also resulted in us collecting crores for the state exchequer. So it's not that people don't violate guidelines. So from day one, we've been pushing a concept that we came up with. It's called individual social responsibility. So if every citizen, and I'm using your platform to go out and say this to every citizen, the Prime Minister tweeted yesterday, please listen to him at least, mask up, wash your hands, and maintain social distance, and together we can overcome this entire problem. Now, I think I've taken more than the time I had, so I'll just end it here. As I said, we work in baby steps. That's why we've been successful. And I also talk simply so that, not too much jargon. My apologies to all the technical people here, but they would have understood the kind of technology that was used to make things so simple. Thank you so much.
Excellent presentation, Harmeet ji. Thanks for this. I think steps taken by government of Assam and your department to help the citizens and actually use IT to manage this situation well have been commendable. And since you mentioned about that, you have had the support of SAS team here. So we have here SAS team members Ankit and Radha Krishna here. So Ankit, you want to comment something or give brief remarks on this, Ankit?
Yeah, I think the inputs which has been shared by Harmeet sir was really, really very impressive, and the way the entire policing and ecosystem is supporting this cause, and everyone, it's a teamwork, which he rightly said that it's not the only one component which makes all the difference. It is the entire ecosystem and the entire society, along with whether it is policing, whether it is our warriors, corona warriors, or whether it is the facility management. Everybody have a role to play, and as he also very rightly makes sense that not everything can be achieved on day one. It's a day-to-day process. It's a step by step we have to do small causes to make it a big and large, and to make it a more successful. So here the point I'm trying to say is we believe that as a technology providers, that where our role come into picture is to support this entire ecosystem in such a way so that we can become a backbone of them. For example, if we have the right set of data from where the people are coming, whom they are coming in contact with, can we do some kind of contact tracing on them? Can we do some situational awareness, in terms of how many persons a particular person have interacted? Do we have some geolocation codes of that? So if we can do analysis on such kind of things or data sets, then it can eventually support our entire policing or ecosystem so that they can fight it in a very better way. So over to RK.
RK, can I just add one small thing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Now that we have the data of everybody who came in, So if I'm saying 4,02,000 people came in, I actually have 4,02,000 names with their addresses and phone numbers. Now what we are doing is, as very interestingly, our war room was in the skill development mission. Everything is running out of there. Now we are mapping these people for skills to see how they can be employed. If they are not going to leave the state, our next job is to analyze the data, as Ankit said, and ensure that we can employ these. Out of these 4 lakh, we will need to give gainful employment to at least 3 odd lakh people. So the economic revival is also linked to the data sets that we have created of the returning stranded people. That was just a point. So it's
Yeah,
all a question of, if you have the correct data, then you can break it up and use it as you want, which is what Ankit was talking about.
exactly, sir. I think the power and the capacity that has been built over time in various agencies, including law enforcement over a period of time, has come to the forefront in terms of what they can do beyond the call of the duty. That's what we have observed in multiple states, including Assam. And some of the unique things what we have seen in Assam is that quickly calling out for the people, as example what was given by you, technocrats who have come back on vacation. The students were very strong in the technology. I think a call was made for them to contribute, and the success stories what we hear from people from Assam specifically on the contributions made by these individuals is commendable. I think specifically when we start looking at this issue purely from the data perspective, how it can essentially resolve, how can things be made better. We have looked into the data which could be used for situational awareness, which could be used for population migration analysis. It could be used for emergency social support, medical resource optimization. I think bulk of the effort at this point of time is going on. How do we really optimize the medical infrastructure? And what has come out is that it is just not how to manage this pandemic. I think the insights based on the data that are seen at this point of time will help in the policy making for future as well. I'll get into some of those specifics when I cover my session, but it was really heartful to hear the commendable job done by the Assam team as a whole, one Assam team.
Let me say again compliments to the Assam government, Assam police, and of course SS team for taking this problem head on and using IT and data and analytics to handle this. And so let me request, we have 2 other eminent speakers. We have Shri Manoj Abraham from Kerala, and Shri Asim Arun from Uttar Pradesh, and uh, requesting that like I am interested that first I listen to both the speakers, but I think I have to make a difficult choice. So let me. Is that okay if I request Asim ji to speak first, and then Manoj ji can speak? Is that okay, sir? With you?
No issues, no issues. Just go on.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So requesting Asim ji, if you can give your presentation.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Manoj. Hi, Arun sir. How are you? Thank you, Manoj, for letting me move ahead of you. I would like to speak more about smart policing in general first, and then look at COVID specifically. As I head the organization 112 UP, now this organization is responsible for taking calls in different forms from all the citizens and responding to them. Until the system came in, this was a common problem with entire UP police, and citizens were unhappy कि सुनवाई नहीं होती है, that we don't get a hearing. And with this system in place, this fundamental problem कि सुनवाई नहीं होती है has been solved. We take about 64,000 calls each day, out of which about 20 to 24,000 calls are actionable calls, by which I mean we send out a police team to address the problem there. So as an institution, as a system, this has been hugely successful. Policing has changed beyond recognition since this project came in. The second interesting thing about this, where we are now trying to reach, and we have reached substantially, is equal response to each call. So first is rule of law, which we are achieving substantially through this. And the second is no matter who is calling out to us, for a small thing like a noisy neighborhood call, it doesn't matter whether it's some function in a slum or it's a function in a 5-star hotel, we respond equally to it. Or whether it's a domestic violence call from a society in Noida or from a small place in Balia, our response is equal. So that is what we have reached. We are very happy with that. Of course, there will always be room to improve upon that. And thirdly, we have been able to standardize our response pretty well in this. But that is also one area where we have to move forward. We have to gain more experience, and we are at this stage in the process of hiring consultants who are business process experts. We realize we have drawn our business processes, it works well, but when we compare ourselves with other similar agencies in the private sector, for example, taxi aggregators or food delivery apps, I'm sure they do a much better job than 112 UP does. So we are looking at experience sharing with these big companies, intermediaries, and benefiting from them, finding out what are the common elements, and we could benefit from them by designing a very robust business process. So if anyone has any idea on this, any police organization or government organization who has worked well on this, I would reach out to you. Please address us. We would be happy to work together on this. And when all these three things come together, I would like to say that we need super institutions in the police and in the government, and we really don't need super cops in future. Because when we look at super cops, then we ignore the systems. But here, when we have very strong systems, now in my system, there are 1,100 people working in Lucknow in our command center. And there are 34,000 people working in 4,500 patrol vehicles, 4-wheeler and 2-wheelers. Every day, there are incidents where people save lives, prevent crime or arrest criminals. We honor each one of them, but we feel happy that the system is becoming bigger than the individuals. Lastly, talking about 112 UP, and then I'll move to COVID situation. The interesting thing is that there was a lot of spare capacity which was created in this system since day one. In two ways. One, in terms of redundancy, because we have site redundancy in the form of one main center in Lucknow and two smaller centers in Ghaziabad and Prayagraj, Allahabad. And this was designed specifically for this purpose, that in case of a natural disaster, in one place, the other two systems would continue to work. Now, this is also a form of a natural disaster. We've had incidents in Ghaziabad and then Lucknow, where we had to shut down our operations from these two buildings one by one. So, but we were able to handle the situation because there was site redundancy available with us. Of course, we have site redundancy in terms of our data center also, which is placed somewhere down south. I would now like to talk a bit about 112 UP's response to the COVID situation, but mostly from smart policing perspective. When the lockdown was just beginning, CM UP, Shri Yogi Adityanath, was quick to realize that there may be a lot of people who would have to go without food or go without medicines because the lockdown had been in place and people really don't know what a lockdown meant. Even the police did not know what it meant. But when he asked us that can I use 112 UP's police response vehicles, PRVs as we call them, for this we agreed, we happily agreed. And in the first 10 days, we worked out a system. And as Harmeet sir was saying, through regular video conferences and including Zoom conferences with constables working in the PRVs. And we told them what conceptually giving relief work meant, and what to do and what not to do. The relief work fundamentally came from the government itself in the form of rations, but we also needed fresh lunch packets, which I would say in the initial days mostly came from charitable institutions and philanthropic citizens, and they were stocked into the police response vehicles. Whenever we would get a call, and we were getting about 22,000 calls each day requesting for food. And I'm sure we were actually handing out food to more than 5 or 6 times this volume to people who were not calling, but we could see them on the streets. The lesson learned here is that if we are able to adapt our processes quickly, and we are able to bring everyone on board, make everyone understand what the government wants us to do, we can find a way forward. For future, there are a lot of lessons in this. And COVID is obviously not a good thing to happen, but it has some very interesting byproducts as well. Now, web conferences existed for a long time. Webinar like this could have happened much earlier. And if this was just 10 months ago, I'm sure Elets would have invited us all to a place. Logistics would have been so massive. And then we would have been able to exchange this information. Here we are doing this on a weekend at virtually very little cost, except our times, and gaining so much from each other's experience. So we need to identify these, if I may say, happy byproducts of the COVID situation, expand on them, and ensure that in the post-COVID world, we don't lose out on them, we make it stronger. Interesting challenge. Sorry, yeah. An interesting challenge we were facing was we identified this in February itself when the COVID situation was evolving, that at one point of time, some of us would fall sick, and being a contagious disease, there would be semi-lockdowns in the building itself. So we thought, let us work on a work from home solution. And we requested our system integrator, Mahindra, and technology provider, Avaya, to come up with a solution. And we are extremely grateful to them. And as Harmeet was saying, they gave us a pro bono solution, a trial version, which we are still using. Of course, now we'll procure it formally. This is a very strong system. I would like to show you a 3-minute video on this. This opens up a lot of opportunities. It is possible for us now to reduce our logistics. We may even be able to hire call takers from different districts sitting in their homes and working. So the idea comes to my mind that probably in the future, call center employees would not have to get together in Hyderabad or Bangalore or Noida. They could be in their small villages or towns working on call centers. So there would be so much less pressure on urbanization. That's the kind of opportunities which will open up in future. Amit, can we have the video, please?
Sure. Deepak, can we start the video, please?
Thank you. Are we getting the audio?
Just a second. Audio increase कर दो.
Apart from handling the pressure of increased call volume, the important challenge facing us was the fear in the minds of our communication officers and their families that they themselves might get infected while commuting. Some families justifiably started discouraging them from leaving their homes for work. Empathizing with the parents and the communication officers' fear, we immediately requested our system integrator, Mahindra Defense, and technology provider Avaya to provide us a solution that could enable work from home for our communication officers.
As a system integrator, Mahindra Defense took up this challenge and worked with Avaya and other OEMs to make this possible in the shortest time. We did beta testing across 112 headquarters, and when satisfied, we started rolling out the desktops Our teams worked around the clock to enable system at the residence of communication officers.
We took out each spareable laptop and desktop from our offices and got them installed in the homes of our COs. And now we can proudly say that we have around 120 COs who are operating from home.
नमस्कार 112 जी बताएं क्या परेशानी है जी आपके पास खाना नहीं है मैं इमरजेंसी सर्विस 112 में कम्युनिकेशन ऑफिसर हूँ। आप जब भी कॉल करते हैं आपकी कॉल को हम ही उठाते हैं और आप तक सहायता पहुँचाते हैं। कोरोना वायरस के चलते हुए बहुत सारी परेशानियों को हमें फेस करना पड़ रहा है। इसकी वजह से हमारे घर वाले भी हमें अलाउ नहीं कर रहे थे ऑफिस जाने के लिए। उनको भी कहीं ना कहीं डर था कि इससे इन्फेक्टेड हम खुद ही ना हो जाएं। लेकिन हमने सोचा कि अगर हम इस परिस्थिति में आपके साथ नहीं रहेंगे कौन आप लोगों तक सहायता पहुँचाएगा। 112 हमारी आपको खाना, राशन, दवाइयाँ सारी कुछ उपलब्ध करा रही है। ठीक है, आपकी जानकारी को नोट कर लिया गया सर। सहायता जल्द से जल्द पहुँच रही है। धन्यवाद।
The obvious advantage is that now these girls are working from the safety of their homes and fewer girls have to work from office. With these measures in place, we are now confident that whatever the challenge, 112's mission critical services will always be up, serving you with speed and sensitivity.
Thank you very much. I'm sure the film explains this much better than I would have done here. I would now like to spend just 2 more minutes discussing things where we've not done as well as we should have, and these are important lessons for all of us. One, we need to get into a culture where we learn to plan ahead. We learn to plan far ahead. Now, this is July, and we should be looking at December or January what the situation would be, what kind of smart policing responses would be required. We are doing that individually, but we are not doing that systematically as an organization or as policing in the country would require. At least I am not part of it. I have not seen that. So that's something which we need to do, not just for COVID, but for everything, so that we are able to, as in case of 112, generate capacity, generate surplus capacity, and ability to modify operations. We have been attempting to use data analysis because, as you would see in our system, we have volumes of data of the last 4 years. But again, here there's a big lesson learned. The system was designed 5 years ago. So the system was not really designed for data analysis. So whoever is working on a new system now must look at forms which factor in data analysis properly. For example, in my system, location is captured 5 times. So, but now we're not sure which is the most accurate location of the crime scene. So ideally, we should have a closure form after each event is addressed, where the constable maps the exact location of the crime. In case it is not exact, then he says that it is not exact. So data sanitization at a later stage does not become an unsurmountable task. And whoever's working on a new system, I would recommend, please do that. And lastly, I have a question for everyone. Nowadays, any kind of software, whether it's WhatsApp, Uber, or Swiggy, or anything, or for that matter, StreamYard, each software is working over time to evolve. And they evolve virtually. I mean, you get updates every 2 weeks. How does government and police handle this challenge? Now, here I have a system which is 4 years old. I want to improve upon it. I want to roll out new features. And as we see in the film, the partners are very cooperative. But there are financial consequences to each innovation which we ask for. And many of them are not provided for in the contract. So how does government handle this kind of IT procurement where constant evolution keeps happening? That's one question, the answer to which I have not found. We will be soon tendering out for the next phase. And if anybody has ideas on how to define this procurement element, we would be very happy. We would benefit from this. Thank you very much for making me a part of it, Raviji. It's very educative each time you put us together. And thank you very much. With this, I will stop.
Thank you, Asim Arunji. I think you highlighted so many aspects of this, how police department has handled the situation, and especially the issues like working home call centers. That was very interesting concept in itself, and such a large population UP has to handle with diverse set of problems. So your organization has been doing a commendable job. Thanks for that. And let me request our speaker from Kerala, Shri Manoj Abrahamji. Kerala the police has done some commendable work in this situation, and requesting Manojji to highlight this. Manoj Abrahamji.
I'll just share my screen just.
Sure.
Am I visible to you all of you? That's my
Yes.
presentation.
Yes, it's visible.
So very good morning to all of you. It's a pleasure to come and speak at such a conference with such eminent speakers before me, Harmeet Singh sir, and my dear batchmate Asim Arun. It's basically speaking after them. It's very easy for me because my task is cut out, because I don't have to explain many things that we have done. I will purely concentrate on the digital innovations that we had in the wake of COVID and what we did in Kerala to handle this crisis. Basically, as we all know, as was already mentioned, this was something very new for the police department or for any other departments handling this. It's an unseen enemy. Generally, what we have SOPs, the standard operating procedures, for various problems, for various bandobast schemes, to handle various crowds, to handle law and order problems. But this was something which was not there in our books. And as Harmeet Singh sir mentioned earlier, that we evolved every day along with the problem. And as the problem changed, we need to change. We need to bring a lot of innovation. And it was every day the policing was evolving. So it was a totally different ballgame out there. So basically the police department task was to ensure it was a thankless job. Sorry. Yeah, it was a very thankless job to restrict the police, to ensure that the public stays inside, and the police officers also don't get infected by that. It was a very thankless job, with no facilities available, with no protection coming up in the initial days. It was one hell of a task. And in Kerala, what we did different from many other places is we actually ventured into areas which were purely not, you can't state as purely policing functions also. We ventured into a host of areas which traditionally falls in the health department or the corporations or the local bodies. And it was a multifarious job we was doing, because initially, due to the lockdown, none of the departments functioned. And so the police had to do a lot of multitasking in various aspects to actually go on to do the job that they were expected. Of course, enforcing the lockdown was one of the easy parts, was one of the parts which all the police forces had to do. But in the digital arena, that is where we got a lot of the publicity, good name also. We went really heads and tongs on the digital media through various means. As Harmeet sir mentioned, the digital media was used in Kerala also to a great extent. We are one of the forces which is very popular on social media. Almost all the social media handles, Facebook, we are the top police force in the whole world. On any channel you name it, on TikTok, which is banned now, or on various social media channels, YouTube, we are number one. So we leverage this technology, we leverage our presence in these social media handles to really put in messages that were not purely policing. Now, the video that you see on screen is purely a video which have been brought out by the health department, where we teach them on how to handle COVID, on what all health precautions that we need to use. I've all seen it. You must have all seen it on the media also. It went not only viral in the country, it went throughout the globe. It was sprayed in all the countries also. It was a simple video just made in a room adjacent to my office, but it went viral because the correct intervention at the right time, with the right idea, it really went along with the people. We came out with numerous such videos. This is another such video which really went viral throughout the country, where we animated the coronavirus, and a lot of celebrities, etc., came up. We had a view for this video itself covering almost 45 million throughout the globe, that is apart from the WhatsApp and the one-to-one sharing concepts that were there. So basically, it was not purely a policing video, but it basically gives on to the health-related aspects. The health department should have actually come in, but we came out with such a video, and it was really popular. It was taken very well also. Apart from that, we use the social media. We use a lot of trolling mediums also. We use the language of the youth, where we bring in a lot of humor. We bring in a lot of the filmdom also. Use a lot of actors to ensure that they come and they enforce. The lockdown is enforced with the cooperation of the public, to keep the people indoors, to bring in a lot of principles which the police wants to put on to the public, saying that you need to remain safe, what you need to do on in the cyber world, how to go about your online classes, etc., etc. And it was a big hit. So the digital intervention actually is one of the major things that really put up on the international map with regards to COVID. The second part, Harmeet sir has already mentioned, all over the country, even in Kerala, we use the drones to a great effect. We actually made the drones, we improvised the drones in the sense that they had police lights coming up on top. They used to transport material also. You can actually give, say, PPE kit to a person standing on the top of the building. We use the drones in various ways. We improvise the drone, and actually, as was mentioned, in the rural areas, in the urban areas, we actually used it very effectively to enforce the lockdown. Then, of course, in case of the migrant labor also, which was a problem everywhere else in the country, we used the digital means, because most of the labor, the migrant labor, we know that their communication is not through the television, not through the newspapers. It's through their phones and their WhatsApp groups as such. So in the initial days itself, when we understood that this is going to be a problem, we actually had groups coming up. We actually became, in most of the cases, we have that community policing program called Janamaitri running throughout the state. So we actually got those Janamaitri volunteers to actually enter those groups, to become members of those groups. And through those groups, we actually put in a lot of videos, a lot of information on what the government is doing, what the police officers are doing, whether there was any problem. So our basically, when we look back, we find that the greatest response for our projects were with the migrant population. They have nothing bad to say. They say that it was a very good response for the police department and for the government of Kerala from the part of the migrant labor. We had absolutely no law and order problems in this regard. We had a huge population of migrant labor coming. Almost 5 lakh people were transported from Kerala to all parts of the country. Of course, as was mentioned, this was another initiative where we issued the pass, the curfew pass or the COVID lockdown pass, various ways COVID lockdown pass issued in the night, interstate, interdistrict, all kinds of passes. And as was mentioned before, we had to make this in no time. It was actually 1 or 2 days that we got in with the people. We have a project called Cyberdome where we have a lot of volunteers already in place. And we use them, and within 2 days, we used to make an app, put it on the Android platform, the iOS platform, and we used to run it. And this is another such project which we ran very successfully, giving curfew passes to the public. This Harmeet sir mentioned, we also have that Be Safe home quarantine solution. We have an app where we can actually track them through geofencing, the people who go on the quarantine, and we can watch them whether they are violating the quarantine or not. This is our women patrols, which actually go and check the people in the quarantine and give them advice. Then we came out with a shops app also. During the first lockdown, when there were no shops available, we tied up with another company and we bought out a shops app where we got in people through an app where they can actually order their essential groceries. And the police tied up with the agency and they actually delivered these groceries to the public. So now nobody used to come out. We used the app very extensively in the first phases of the lockdown to send these essential groceries to the house of the individuals itself. So this was another project which was powered by the police. It's not purely our function, but still we powered the app and we ran it for the first 2 months and delivered essential things at home to the public. There's another app which we got out, not purely in our function. It's basically a telemedicine app which the health department should be primarily doing. But the police tied up with the Indian Medical Association. We know that during the lockdown, a lot of private hospitals were closed. Many doctors came and they were locked up in their houses. So actually, we moved the IMA and we got the doctors to work for us. The IMA came in a big way. We had around 500 doctors registered on our platform. And the people who can come out, the members of the public who require basic treatment, they could actually dial up through the app that we circulated. And they could have a video call with the doctor and basically get advice on their various problems. This is another initiative that we did for our police officers itself. We have the subsidiary central police canteens running everywhere. We made it online. This was another step that we took because we did not want our officers also to get infected with the virus. So we started an app where we started door-to-door delivery for the central police canteens also, which was another unique step that we took. Then, of course, we brought out a unique SOP because there was no SOP, as I mentioned earlier. This is the evolving process. So we brought out one of the first SOPs for the police department on how to function in various aspects of policing, because the whole gamut of policing or the whole paradigm of policing changed with the COVID. And so we brought out a SOP detailing the whole steps that we took. Another major step that we took is with regard to protection of children. We know that during the COVID-19 lockdown, a lot of crimes against children, online crimes against children increased. And to handle that, we took a lot of steps. We have a CCSE cell running exclusively to deal with crimes against children online. And we activated that. And during this period, we actually worked overtime and ensured that because the criminals and the children both are locked up in their homes, the crimes are bound to go up. And we did a lot of activity in that. Got in a lot of software prepared. We did a lot of activity and got more than 120 criminals arrested during this period. This is another, we know that a lot of cyber crimes also increased in the calculating on the fear of the COVID, using the various aspects of bank loans and the COVID medicines, etc. There were a lot of frauds happening throughout the globe, even in Kerala also. So we came out with a Be Safe fraud prevention app, which gives you the exact details of what frauds are happening, the numbers that these fraudsters use. So if you download the app, if a fraudster is calling you, the app will immediately alert you that this is the number of a fraudster. And it will give you other details of what all frauds are happening, which also was very popular and useful for the members of the public in these times. Then for the children who are hooked onto their online classes because the schools didn't start, we started a cyber learning website, a certified website along with the Australian e-safety commissioner called KidGlow. And the children actually have to go through a class and they have to pass through. So once they learn that, they will understand what are the dangers there in online classes of handling the net, and that also was another unique step that we took during this period. We brought out a police app, also an integrated police app. Of course, is not directly related to the COVID pandemic, but it was very helpful when we released it because the public could actually interact with the police on a greater scale. and a lot of fresh apps, a lot of health initiatives, etc. We could actually link through the poll app and send it to the public. Then we conducted an online hackathon, particularly related to solutions for COVID. It had a great response from all around the globe. We had a lot of projects coming in, a lot of ideas, a lot of youngsters waiting and saying that we can do this, we can do this. Most of the ideas that I shared earlier, some of them have come from this hackathon, and many more ideas are in the pipeline. We are actually in the process of implementing that. And it proved to be very helpful in bringing out solutions, because these youngsters that are there, the skill set is it's really commendable that they come out with ideas that you can't imagine, and that you can actually implement many of them to ensure that the police can prove to be a better service delivery agent than earlier. Then, of course, there's one of the Mask in the Mask campaign, which we ran digitally, that everybody should use masks. We had the new website with COVID response dashboard coming up. The Kerala Police website itself was realigned to fight the COVID and as to provide a proper response platform to the public and handling all those policing issues also. We had tied up with Byju's app for ensuring free app to the bots of the police. The police officers' children will be there. So we tied up with Byju's app. So they are providing to all the students, basically of police families, a free app up till the month of September, where they can avail that free of course, which is another welfare measure that was really appreciated by the police officers. This is a mobile sanitizer vehicle that we introduced for police officers. These has doubts raised from the health department whether this is effective or not. Internationally, people say that it gives a false sense of this thing. But what we use it for is, we take this vehicle to the police officer standing on the roadside, and he gets and he takes around. So at least he gets sanitized to some extent is what we do. So we continue with that process. It's not 100% foolproof or medically clearly certified, but still gives at least some sort of sense of security to that individual. It may not be, we have been trying to brief them that it should not give a false sense of security that you can do anything, that you have been fully satisfied. But that's another step that we took. We have an improvised PPE kit also coming up. We introduced our raincoats with a host of items, and we made a PPE kit because we found that the traditional PPE kit was very uncomfortable for the police officer on the street. It can only be used in an air-conditioned atmosphere. So we improvised a PPE kit and we are using it. So basically, in tidbits, these are few digital and connected initiatives that we took during the COVID. Many more traditional policing initiatives are there, but we are just handling all these technical issues also. And as was mentioned by Harmeet Singh sir, we continue to do our bit. With these innovations we have done, along with the Kerala government, the health department has done very well. That's why we got a lot of praise from the national and the international community in handling the pandemic. But as was mentioned earlier also, this situation, it's an evolving situation, keeps on changing every day. We have new reports coming up. And we need to evolve also. And as Asim was saying, we are looking for new ideas. As the problem evolves, we need to change, we need to evolve also. And so we are looking for ideas. If anybody has any more ideas also, we have a big group of volunteers who work for us throughout the globe. We have around 3,000 strong volunteer force working with us under Cyberdome. They give us a lot of ideas. So if any more ideas are there, we are always welcome. And this is what I have to say about the Kerala Police initiatives. And thank you once again, Ravi Gupta, for giving us this opportunity to share what we have done. And hopefully we can all learn from that. That's our objective. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Manoj. Excellent initiative. Hats off to you. And requesting our industry expert here, Ankit, would to make any comments on this? The presentation of Asim, Arun, and Manoj. Ankit from SS. Hi, Ankit.
Yeah, I think it was really informative, and the way the government is currently working, it is really hats off. And my personal regards to the entire teams who are working for this noble cause. and making it successful, because we as normal people, we sit at home quietly and we are safe because of the warriors like you, who are on ground, who are making it successful, planning it very effectively, using all the technology and mediums, evolving every day. I mean, it is really amazing to hear views from Harmeet sir, views from Asim sir, as well as Manoj sir. It is really overwhelming, because it is not very easy in such a situation to put your life in threat and manage the entire ecosystem so effectively and efficiently, which is one of the best considered as compared to the across the globe. So if I compare ourselves, India, as compared to US and the situation in Europe, the way we have handled, it's really amazing. And that too with the scarcity of a lot of issues, we have our own problems. But in spite of that, we have come out very strongly on ground. So I think this is commendable, and I see a lot of shift which has happened in the entire ecosystem of the policing as a whole, wherein the smart policing have taken a front seat, and a lot of technologies have involved to support our warriors on ground, and which is very very commendable to see nowadays. And as Asim sir have rightly proposed that, in Dial 112, the kind of technologies and the entire ecosystem they are using to leverage it as the fullest for the advantage of a common person is really amazing to see. Similarly, in case of Cyberdome, I mean, as have been defined by Manoj sir, was also commendable to see how all the pieces have put together, integrated as a complete solution, and holistically helping the entire government in mapping all the aspects of it. So I think it is really impressive, Ravi, to see all the industry veterans here, as well as the policing veterans. So it's really amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ankit. And may I request uh, Asim, Arunji, your comments on the like I think each of the three states who are here have like different approaches. So concluding remarks, I'm requesting from each of the speakers. So Asimji, your uh, views about like listening about other states and comparison to like UP, and what are the opportunities for knowledge sharing between states? Asimji, am I, am I audible, Asimji? I think, uh,
Okay.
yeah. Asim Arunji, yeah, please speak. Some connectivity issue, it seems.
Can you hear me?
Yes, 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 yes.
I'm
We can't hear you right now, Asimji. If you can speak louder. I think.
Ravi ji, can you hear me? I think.
Yes, 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 yes. I can hear you now. Yes, but your voice is lost in between. So I think there is some connectivity issue, and let me reach out to Shri Harmeet Singh ji, ADGP Assam, for your impressions about work of the other states and what are the opportunities for new IT initiatives in police. Harmeet ji.
Great work, Manoj, by the way, and of course, Asim's 112 I visited, so that's something else. Uh, you know, uh, we've got to remember two things in India. While we go on to technology, which is an imperative, we cannot forget the human. I have seen with various situations, and I've worked across the globe, that as we take on to technology, we forget the human aspect. We have to keep the human aspect in mind, and we have to remember that the technologies we bring in have to be used down to our cutting edge level. That is the man on the beat, our constable down there. So, as Asim said, as Manoj knows, and as we have done, and I'm sure other states are doing, the technology itself should be user-friendly. Technology for technology's sake is not going to help us. So the user, so whatever technologies we built should not be for the guys who are creating the technology, but as in Asim's case, I loved it when that officer who responded from 112 said, "Aapki pareshani kya hai? What is troubling you?" You know, as Asim said, service with sensitivity. So technology, we have to keep adding, but as a force multiplier, not as saying कि साहब अब टेक्नोलॉजी आ गई है तो आप पुलिस वाले कम कर दीजिए, वो नहीं चलेगा. We are a human intensive country. So whatever technology we bring in has to be that. And as Asim said, and Manoj also said, we actually, Asim, you had said this in that last webinar we attended also, and maybe we should take it up with some police forum for us to just brainstorm on what we faced so that others can say, I already have a technology for this, or someone can say, that's an interesting idea, let's bring up a technology for this. I think that's what's lacking. What's lacking is us talking amongst ourselves, and it's really great that people like this and our earlier webinars bring us together to learn what each other are doing, and then we realize, अरे हम भी तो ये कर रहे हैं, लेकिन इनका हमसे अच्छा है, या ये कर रहे हैं but शायद जो हम कर रहे हैं वो हमारा ज्यादा अच्छा है, इसको merge क्यों नहीं करते हम? So let's talk about Team India. So I would request Manoj and Asim, let's talk offline on this and try and share so that we can do things. And every state has different needs. Even technology has to be suited to your culture, the working culture and the acceptance culture of your people. So what are those levels? And what is acceptable in Kerala might not be acceptable in Assam, might be acceptable in UP, and vice versa. So we've got to work on that because we are a very diverse country. So I always say technology, yes, but humans equally important because we are serving humans. And with that, I'll beg leave because we lost our first policeman to COVID yesterday, and we have a Shraddhanjali Sabha for him at 11:30. So I'm leaving for that. Thank you so much. And hopefully you'll send me the recording so I'll watch the rest.
Sure. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Harmeet ji, for joining, and we are grateful. And let me request concluding remarks from Asim, Arun ji, and Manoj Abraham ji. Asim ji, please.
Thank you, Ravi. There was some connectivity issue at my end. My apologies for that. Harmeet sir has summed it up very nicely. I would just like to mention, give one example of what the way forward could be. I'm sure Kerala Police, with Manoj working so hard at Cyberdome and other things, must be looking at using online training platforms, MOOC kind of platforms for police training. UP Police is also working on that. Now these are, and the subject matter would be virtually the same. These are areas where wonderful collaboration can happen in future. We would love to share with the rest of the country on what we have done, and similarly we would request others to share with us. We might be able to use those training courses the way they are, or we might have to adapt a little bit according to our own language or local requirements. So there are many such examples which come to my mind, but just to illustrate, this is all that I would like to mention. And that is the time, the milestone where we would really be moving towards smart policing. The Prime Minister has outlined his vision of smart
Some connectivity issue here with Asim Arun ji, and let me request Manoj Abraham ji to give your concluding remarks. And again, sir, compliments to you. I saw your PPT, that was amazing. Hats off to the Kerala Police for taking this initiative. Manoj ji, your concluding
Thank
remarks.
you very much. It's basically, I just want to just add on to what Harmeet Singh sir said. that we have a lot of initiatives. We need not forget the human being, because generally the tendency is that we bring in technology without thinking whether the human being or the police officer can actually use it. And secondly, we never try to look into whether it's actually doing any good for our service delivery, because any technology coming in should lead to a better service delivery, a faster service delivery, a cheaper service delivery. So that is what we want to need to look at. And as we learn from all these webinars, is we have projects running in other states. And I believe that now with this digital world, we are getting all the same everywhere. And whatever is being adopted in UP can be done in Kerala or Assam. It's not like earlier times when we are not connected. Now we find that the problems itself, when we look at problems of children, when I had a webinar around the globe, we find that the problems are same everywhere. So the world is coming together with this digital revolution, and I think we need to share our ideas, we need to share our solutions, because it's going to apply equally everywhere. So thank you very much for this opportunity once again.
Thank you, and we would like to present our speakers a virtual certificate here, which will take a minute. And I also want to inform and in fact request all our speakers who are here, Asim ji and Manoj ji, that we are planning to organize a police IT conference around after 2 months, where we are looking at getting a lot more states and having a one-day conference on various aspects of IT policing. So we will be inviting you for that. And Arpit, if we could have the certificates presented, please.
Thank you, sir. I will request our team at the back end. Can we have the certificate? So this certificate is for Shri Harmeet Singh ji. He has just left because he has to go for some ceremony. This is for Shri Asim Arun ji. Congratulations, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Asim ji.
This is for Manoj Abraham, sir. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Yesterday you also joined. This is for Mr. B. Radha Krishna from SAS. He has gone to the other studio because we have 2 parallel sessions on security going on. So one was for speakers in the studio 1, wherein Asim sir, Manoj sir, and Harmeet sir joined. And the other session is going on with other speakers of these states. So before we end up this session, I would request if we can have SAS representative on the screen, please.